The world of Fargo stories has always been filled with crazy tales featuring interesting characters with rather unusual plots. From brutal to funny, they cover a wide range of experiences, and every season brings new surprises. This time around, Noah Hawley has brought a rather interesting character into the world of Fargo with Ole Munch. Is it Ole Munch, or is it Oo-Lah Moonk? We'll probably never find out through that crazy accent that adds to his mysterious vibe. Anyway, let's jump into the man, the boogeyman, the mystery, the mud that is Oo-Lah Moonk from Fargo Season 5. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who is Oo-Lah Moonk? Noah Hawley has a unique take on the concept of Fargo, and that's why each season becomes an interesting dive into the ideas of various characters that strikes out. These characters are so memorable, and yet they don't really affect the plot of the series as much as they should. I mean, who can forget that random UFO occurrence during the Sioux Falls massacre that is hardly ever talked about again? But it did end up being one of the best things about the show. Later, we had ghosts and whatnot, and all these things seem to have aided the series' protagonist. In the latest season of the series, we had Oo-Lah Moonk, who managed to take the series' usual weirdness to a whole new level. In fact, a supernatural level again. When he's first introduced, played brilliantly by Sam Spruell, the character seems like one of those criminal duos who appear in all seasons that Roy Tillman hires to kidnap Dot Lion. Now, things take an exciting turn when Dot manages to evade the kidnapping after killing Munch's partner after having severely injured him too. For a while, it seems like the story is over as Munch returns to Tillman asking for money he's owed for his failed task. The Tillmans take him as a joke, and our dear friend Gator, played by Back in Chicago's Joe Keery, decides to execute him but fails to do so, thus beginning the tale of his revenge against Roy Tillman. Even though the primary story revolves around Dot Lion's vendetta against dealing with her past, which is dealing with Roy Tillman, Oo-Lah Moonk has an arc in parallel. It doesn't stray the story away from the main path as we discover a strange similarity between the two characters and, how they deal with their past. Now, many things happen throughout the series that take us into the history of Oo-Lah Moonk. But before we jump into that, let's just clarify that no one knows who this guy is. He could be an utterly mythological figure, as is mentioned in the series, or, he could be someone who went crazy after being hit on the head and struck up a rather elaborate means of seeking revenge from the Tillmans while also making an interesting deal with Dot Lion. Ritual of Moonk. One of the most bizarre moments during Moonk's vendetta against Tillman's people is right after he kills Gator's partner, who had teamed up to grab Dot Lion. When Gator returns to the truck, he discovers the body along with a piece of cardboard with the words, "You owe me," written on it with blood. Just letting you know that even though all this might sound very serious and dark, Moonk gives some rather hilarious moments as the simple people don't get any insight into the lore of this person. One of the most hilarious moments is when he shows up in the house of an elderly woman named Irma. When she discovers him in the upstairs bedroom, he uses his usual absolutely menacing tone to declare, "I live here now." And after that, we jump into a bit of a backstory that takes us centuries back into 1522 to a place far, far away. Wales. So, the story shows something about Moonk from 500 years back as we see a man with Moonk's likeness, or, maybe it's him. The person is indicated to have sinned and is then taken to a funeral ceremony as a sin eater. He's then served a plate of food left on the dead person's coffin, and then he's made to eat it so that he can now inherit all the deceased sins. Now, the dead guy is absolved and can rest in peace, while Moonk, who gets paid with 2 coins, is now freed while having the sins and evils of this person. We'll talk about the sin eater later, but for now, Moonk does something surprising that shows he won't stop until he pays his debts. As episode 3 draws to a close, Moonk engages in a ritual reminiscent of pagan ceremonies, anointing himself with animal blood and mud as a form of sacrificial offering. He then entered Roy's home, where his wife and sleeping daughters are nested. Moonk goes into a trance-like state, embodying the primal intensity of his ritual. He's torn between his desperate goals and the threat from Roy, which really shows the chaotic side of his character. It reveals the chaos of his character and the lengths he'll go to in a world where danger lurks around every corner. When Roy returns home, he retraces the muddy footprint marks to his daughter's bedroom, where he finds a rune scrawled all over the walls by Moonk. Later, we discover that Moonk is back at Irma's place. As the old confused woman asks him what he needs, Moonk gives cryptic replies, until he states that he wants pancakes. By the way, he calls Irma Mama, but don't be confused about this because apparently Sam Spruill completely improvised and kept it in. The fate of Moonk. In the end, Moonk managed to survive the entire ordeal and actually managed to be redeemed in comparison to most other villains in the franchise. Over the years, there have been many interesting villains, but each one stays evil until the very end. But Moonk's desire for revenge against the Tillmans makes him change sides, and he eventually saves Dot when it really matters. When Tillman's men cornered Dot, Moonk shot them up as he had brought Gator back after giving him the tit for tat as punishment for killing the old lady. While Dot was confused, it became apparent that both had an understanding developed at this very moment. The coolest part was when he called her the Tiger as a sign of respect, seeing how she managed to escape some of the darkest situations throughout her journey. But it wasn't all over yet. Now, for the series finale, we might have to go to the ending of one Coen brothers' finest movies of all time. 2007's No Country for Old Men. When Anton Chigurh managed to retrieve the money, he went back to confront Carla Jean because he had promised Moss that he would kill her. When Carla Jean said he had no reason to hurt her, he said he had given his word. Now, it's not clear if he kills her, even though knowing Anton Chigurh, it would be surprising if he didn't. There's something about the concept of keeping words and not owing that is very relevant in the story. It is very much evident that Chigurh has influenced many of the characters in the Fargo show over the years. Series director Thomas Bazooka will mention something in league with that. Now, the finale for Fargo Season 5 had a somewhat similar dilemma where Moonk appeared at Dot's house a year later, and this time, he was there to settle the differences between them. It became obvious that he was there to kill her, but Dot had to devise a surprising solution to their dilemma. At this point, it becomes clear that Moonk's obsession with debt and payment extends beyond just financial or physical obligations. He believes in a kind of cosmic balancing act, where every action must have an equal reaction. But Dot, in her resilience and fight for freedom, challenges Moonk's rigid belief system. She negotiates with him not through brute force, but by appealing to his sense of shared fate. Now, Moonk, who has spent centuries weighed down by the sins of others, sees in Dot someone who is similarly caught up in a system she never asked for. At that moment, Moonk chooses to break the cycle, and he ends up baking the biscuit, which he eats with the family as he tells them about his journey over the years. Fargo deals with violence and fate using dark humor and absurdity, showing how Dot and Moonk managed to survive. In comparison, No Country for Old Men shows a harsher reality through Chigurh's journey, making everything feel bleak and unavoidable. Moonk's immortality is both his power and his prison. His whole existence revolves around the idea of payment and debt, concepts that define his relationships and actions. This worldview collides with Dot's, who finds herself trapped in a world of violence and death, much like Moonk, but in a more modern and domestic sense. Dot, played by Juno Temple, is not only fighting for her life throughout the series, but also for her freedom from the people who control her. In a sense, Moonk recognizes a kindred spirit in Dot. She too was entangled in forces beyond her control, and that connection ultimately becomes a central point in their relationship. Now, Dot not only helps bring this change, but also acts like a motherly figure, changing his reaction and capturing his attention. In the past two, he had held the old lady as a mother figure, and when she asked what he wanted from her, he had stated pancakes. Maybe he just wanted to be a part of something nice where he was not belittled, which was his weak point. Actor Sam Spruill said it best. He turns up, but he doesn't know how she can repay him. He just needs to exercise this in any way he can. The resolution is really to let Dot off and forgo the debt. In return, she offers him a pure and simple kindness and love, and he accepts that. And I think that maybe that small, tiny gesture is something that will break his own cycle, the entrapment in the sin he has lived with for 500 years, and will introduce him to a new life where he can accept love, kindness, and compassion. Maybe he'll feel that life is worth more than doing someone else's evil bidding. At least now we know that even if no one is there to cook for him and have that motherly tenderness towards him, he can always go to Dot's house and find some peace. Maybe he will pop up in one of the future seasons and then show us what he has gone through. Is he truly immortal? This brings us to our next topic.
For this wickedness, he must pay.
Mystery behind his 500 plus years age. With all the mystery surrounding the character, Moonk opens up to Dot's family and somehow manages to set some facts about himself straight. He reveals he's over 500 years old. At some point, he made his way to America by longboat and got hired as a soldier by the colonists. But he didn't stick around for long. He ditched them to live a nomadic and seemingly happy life with the indigenous peoples. Unfortunately, colonialism swept in, and he ended up alone once more, leading him to take a solemn vow of silence for 100 years. On top of that, the sin-eating ritual cursed him with immortality, leaving him without hunger, rest, or even hope ever since. To dive deeper into the mystery surrounding our dear friend, we are left to wonder if he's actually who he mysteriously intends to say he is, or if it's just all a myth. According to the director Thomas Bazooka, there's the thing in Wales, the Sin Eater. I think it was originally meant to be an ancestor of Moonk, but partway through the season, we decided maybe it's Moonk, then that he could be 500 years old. And if he's 500 years old, he can't die, and he's cursed. You see it in the writing in Sam's performance. He speaks about himself in the third person. He doesn't say me or I, he says a man. There's this dissociative quality to his presence on the earth. He can disappear, he can appear. I loved him. He's sort of the Anton Chigurh, or who's the guy on the motorcycle in Raising Arizona? He's just this elemental force that's blowing through this landscape. I adore Sam Spruell. He's a brilliant actor, but I don't think that was the easiest space to occupy for as long as he had to do with that crazy haircut. I think it was pretty lonely. The concept of Sin Eaters is a captivating slice of Welsh folklore. A Sin Eater is someone who takes on the sins of others by consuming a ritual meal, often a humble spread of bread and ale laid upon the deceased's body. This act was believed to transfer the departed sins to the Sin Eater, granting the dead a peaceful passage to the afterlife. In rural Wales, especially until the 19th century, Sin Eaters held a unique and often marginalized place in society. They were often seen as outcasts, performing this significant role in exchange for food or other forms of compensation. It was a heavy burden, but one steeped in the belief that alleviating others' guilt bring comfort to the community. As Jerry from HBO's popular series Succession put it, the Sin Cake Eater was very well paid. And so long as there was another one who came along after he died, it all worked out. So this might not be the best situation, but there are harder jobs, and you get a fuckload of cake. Here, the concept of the Sin Eater is cleverly woven into a conversation between Tom Wambsgans and Jerry Kellman, offering a poignant metaphor for the moral complexities of corporate life. After Tom discovers a shocking number of crimes associated with Waystar Royco's cruise ships, the division he now heads, Jerry, the company's lead counsel, uses the story of a Sin Eater to frame the situation. Jerry describes a man who arrives to eat the little cakes placed alongside corpses, symbolizing the sins of the deceased. This tale served as a rhetorical device, highlighting the burdens of guilt and responsibility that Tom might have to, shoulder as he navigates the fallout from the company's misdeeds. The little cakes represent the transgressions that he, like the Sin Eater, may need to consume to protect the company's interests. By sharing this story, Jerry is effectively urging Tom to accept the blame for the company's actions, suggesting that while it may not be an ideal situation, he will be compensated for his sacrifices. Just as a Sin Eater is rewarded for taking on the sins of others, Tom could find himself in a similar position within the corporate hierarchy. Jerry's narrative emphasizes that while the role may come with significant burdens, it also offers opportunities for advancement and rewards, making it a compelling commentary on the moral compromises often required in pursuing power and success. This example is a perfect parallel between what Noah Hawley wanted to do with the character of Moonk. considering he stated that what I wanted to explore with the Moonk character really was this idea of debt and sin eating, and this idea of what the rich make the poor do. And part of what the rich do to the poor is they make them feel like it's their fault they're poor. And if these poor people have to borrow money from us, it makes them less than others. And then we impose this morality on them that they can't pay it back. Marvelous verdict. I love to see the Wrench and Numbers duo appear and take over the scene while Lauren Malvo dealt with them in the most gruesome way possible. Later, we would get an insight into them, and Wrench would even go on to appear and play a pivotal role in a cameo form in the 3rd season of the series. He would appear with the iconic Wrench and Numbers music, which, would indicate that something crazy is set to happen. Now, I think this trope will completely change with the appearance of Oo-Lah Moonk, as he's enough of a tale himself. Somehow, the series is so brilliantly written that it doesn't even derail the main storyline and shift the attention from Dot's journey. It is noticeable that this season had no connection with the previous seasons, like the Easter eggs we got in the other seasons. So, while being a fresh take, Oo-Lah Moonk might set a whole new style for the Fargo storylines in the future. And that ends our video. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.